seeing a little of what he's doing in relation to AMC and now Arrow and the ILGs and so on. So Kevin's been very generous in giving his time and expertise in a whole bunch of ministries that I've seen. No doubt there's a lot of others. Ordinarily I would go through someone's profile, but Kevin's profile is so long, and he's done so many different things. A certified financial planner, principal of the Shadworth Financial Group, and I think you'll probably be sharing a bit about that and where that's going. I'm not sure.
No.
Okay.
It's boring.
Let me do that then. Former director of the Financial Planning Association, member of FPA's Conduct Review Commission, written for the Herald Sun, numerous journals, written books, provided commentary on radio and television, former director of Action Aid Australia, honorary counsel general for East Timor and Victoria, patron of Life, Love and Health, charity established to support women and children in Timor, director of Investment Advisory Board of a $9 billion petroleum fund for East Timor. Impressive.
Now it's 12.
And Kevin also served 12 billion.
12 billion.
Okay. Can't even comprehend that. Kevin also served in the SAS, so be very careful that you pay attention.
I'm just really old.
And I won't even go into your family details. You can read those for yourself.
Yeah.
But let's just welcome Kevin. It's great to have him here.
Thank you. Thank you. In today's session, we're talking about purpose, and we're talking about working out what God's plan is for us, and what we should be doing. And I think that particularly for me, that's a topic that is close to my heart, because I'm still trying to work out what I'm going to do when I grow up. So if you guys are in the same boat, you're in the right room. You know, we live in a society, we live in a community, we live in a culture which is, really set up in such a way that we're all supposed to get on. We live in this multicultural environment where, we've actually seen a situation where as long as we all stand for nothing, as long as we don't disagree with each other, as long as we're nice, then everything's going to be okay. And so I wanted to lead off with a quote from Pope Benedict XVI. He said that we are moving towards a dictatorship of relativism, which doesn't recognise anything as definitive and has as its highest value one's own ego and one's own desires. We are moving towards a dictatorship of relativism. C.S. Lewis, that great Christian apologist, that great writer, was able to give us so much about our faith in pithy quotes. And the way that he wrote was quite extraordinary. But he actually, it was one thing that I read that he'd written that said that how is it that people who are quite obviously eaten up by pride can say that they believe in God and appear to themselves very religious? I'm afraid that it means that they are worshipping an imaginary God. I don't want to worship an imaginary God. I don't want to lay my life down for something that is just imaginary, or that is just superficial, or is half-baked. If we are going to have a purpose in our life, if we are going to live a life that has got any meaning or has got any sense of being worthwhile, it better be for something big, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Otherwise, I will enjoy all of the fruits of the world and have a good time, because if I'm going to give up all that looks so good and attractive, then it better be worthwhile. So the fact is that there are too many people that are worshipping an imaginary God. Sin is in the world. Sin is in our lives, and sin is something that we struggle with. But fundamentally, that definition of sin is a separation of God. that separation from God, that choosing the other stuff instead of choosing God. And the only reason we do that is because we think that the other stuff must be better at that point and that time. And so there's that whole sense that often it's pride that keeps me from being under authority. And I have to recognise those temptations and those sins and those things that are going to separate me from God. And I have to be alert and aware, as I'm sure each and every one of us who know ourselves and truly seek to know ourselves, know our weaknesses and know where we'll fall down. You know, the first question I ever learnt in the catechism was, why are we created? Why are we created? To know, love and serve God.
Here on earth and to enjoy him forever in heaven.
Amen.
Same training.
Same creed, same catechism. It sticks with you. And the fact is that we were created for a purpose. And we have to discover that purpose. And so, you know, that concept of being in constant, conscious contact with God every waking moment, every hour, every day. That if I can turn my heart towards God, that I can live a life that is not focused on my ego or on my perceptions, but focused on God. We were created and we were saved, but we were saved for something as much as we were saved from something. And if we get so caught up in our personal salvation, you know, that we think that's what it's all about, then we've missed the plot. You know, if we were going to be saved at baptism, then they should have just held us under. And then we go, whoop, straight to heaven. Why waste another 10, 20, 30, 50 years if we just want to be saved? There's a better way. Christians are so dumb. They bring them back up out of the water. They would only bring us back up out of the water if it was for a reason. And so I think we need to really start focusing on what that reason is or what that purpose is. You know, I'm very, very concerned about a lot of the preaching that I hear around about the prosperity gospel. That idea that God, you know, if he blesses us abundantly, and if we're really good and we just focus on God and we turn to God, then we'll be blessed. We'll have all these riches and all these wonderful things, and we can pray for the, you know, the good health and the good car and the good everything, and me. I don't want to live that life focusing on my relationship with God about what can God do for me. And that idea, when I go to India or I go to East Timor or I go to, you know, Bangladesh or many places around the world where I see the most extraordinary saints that are living a life surrendered to God, that are actually laying down their lives, being witnesses. And if anyone knows the original Greek word for witness, does anyone know what it is? Martyr. The word martyr comes from the Greek word for witness. And so I actually see people who I don't hold a candle to laying down their life for God, and they are not rich and they're not prosperous, and somehow, you know, what about them? If this whole idea that if we just turn our lives to God, we're going to be rich and prosperous, we're going to be rich and prosperous in things that are passing away. In the Lord of the Rings, I love that scene at Rivendell, where they're talking to the elven people, the elves, and they're moving and they're going out by ship and they're leaving Middle-earth because this is passing away. But the elves are immortal and they're moving on. And it really is an analogy for heaven and how we're here on earth, and if we focus so much on temporal things that are passing away, then, you know, our health and our wealth and our pleasures and our luxuries, then we've missed the boat. And so, for me, I want to be in constant conscious contact with God while I'm here on earth. And I fall down and I fall down, but I know that I was created for something.